Why did you all decide to apply to the UK in the first place?
Because like since I was young, I dreamed to have British accent. Like when I was watching the movies or videos, whatever.
So I think all UK universities, except like a few, one or two of them, most of them use like the system called UCAS, UCAS. So that's kind of like the equivalent of like UPU.
When you are writing your personal statement, you might include the knowledge that you have learned previously. It might be too surface because common science concepts are too broad that maybe what you have included is not really important, especially in common science area. So get someone experienced to read your personal statement and ask for advice.
I think the most like stressful one was probably Oxford's interview, which they did it as like 4 separate sessions over the course of 2 days. So like 2 sessions per day. You know how like when you're preparing for like Oxford interviews, people usually like tell you that you should like show your thought process and like think aloud and like things like that, right? Yeah. So I maybe I took it like a bit too much to the extreme. In one part of the interview, they asked like a question. The first answer I gave was like what I knew was the wrong answer. But like because I know they want to like see how you can like improve your thoughts and all, I disconnected halfway because my internet connection was very unstable. Kind of like right now. Yeah, this was about like the level of connection I had also.
Hi everyone, I'm Hui Xin. So for today's coffee chat, let's talk about applying to UK universities, like how and also why you should apply. So let me introduce our 2 guest speakers for today, Eric and Hui Xin.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Eric, and I just finished my A levels, and I'll be going to the UK soon to study medicine.
Hello everyone, I'm Hui Xin. Same as Eric, I have just finished my A levels and going to UK in this September doing computer science.
Great. So we have 2 incoming students in UK universities. So my first question is, why did you all decide to apply to the UK in the first place? Like, did you always wanted to go to UK since you were young?
Not really for me. I think for me it was more of a like just apply first and then decide later like between all my different options. Yeah, it just so happens that like I mean it's quite a smooth transition also to go from like A levels to like the UK university because they use the same system. So like it wasn't too much of a hassle to apply when you're already doing A levels for me. Yeah.
Okay, for me, my answers will be quite funny because like since I was young, I dreamed to have British accent. Like when I was watching the movies or videos, whatever. So I so admire those British accents. So I think if I am able to study in UK, I might have most probably having those British accent as well. And another reason might be because my parents always brainwash me to earn pounds since I was young because they will say like your cousins are always money in others' currency, so you have to do so. So that's the reason why I want to apply to UK.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I'm sure like you all will pick up the British accent soon once you settle down there. Okay, so do you all mind sharing more about the course that you all are doing in depth and like what inspired you to do the course actually? Because I'm sure a lot of youngsters out there, they are still not quite decided on what they want to study in the future.
Think I'll start first. So I'll be doing medicine in the UK. And I know for a lot of people who do medicine, it's like their childhood dream, like since they were like 6 years old or something like that. But for me, it wasn't really the case. Like for me, it was like always an option that I knew I would explore because I have like some family members who work in healthcare. But I didn't really like actively consciously choose like medicine until after my SPM actually. So it's actually quite late compared to a lot of other people. But my decision making process was quite straightforward. Basically, I like looked at all of like the fields that lay within my interests, like engineering, computer science, everything, and I ended up eliminating everything else for like various reasons. And so yeah, I ended up with medicine. yeah, and I think like throughout the application process, because we'll talk about this like more in depth later on, you do have to like take steps to like explore the course and like, you know, learn more about like what exactly you are signing up for. And I think throughout that process, it confirmed, like it reassured me that like, okay, yeah, I think this is what I want to study for the next like 5 or 6 years.
Right. What about Hui Xin?
Okay, for me, I think the one who inspired me to do the course is actually my friend in my secondary school. Because during that time, we were forced to apply for scholarships, right? So that time we have to choose for any of the courses. I don't have any idea to choose whatever course I want because I'm not passionate in any interest. So like during that time, my friend actually shows me a lot of videos in artificial intelligence. Then she brainwashed me again, like how good AI is in the future. And then I am I'm interested to do that course. After that, then I told this to my parents. Then my parents said, okay, it's the future will be like most of it is about technology. So if you are doing computer science, it's okay. So this is the main reason why I want to pursue CS.
Yeah, that's
Just
quite
about that.
interesting. Because we can see like if you are undecided on what you want to study, either you can follow Eric to kind of like eliminate all your options and just choose the one that's most suitable for you, or be like Hui, like talk to your friends and parents more, and then just watch more videos on different fields like about AI, about healthcare, or even about humanities, social sciences, and eventually you shortlist the one that is most suitable for you.
Okay, so actually I watched the Coffee Chat episode 1 and 2. Then I think one of your topics do resonate about me, like if you are undecided about doing what course right now, so just go for the money first, because in the future you can use the money to pursue whatever you dream. Yeah, this is also what I believe.
Right. Yeah. So in your fields respectively, right, what are you most passionate about? Because we know that like AI itself can be very broad as well, and medicine as well, because in the future you can practice or you can do research, right? So can you share about maybe some projects or extracurriculars that you are currently involved in or you have done before that you actually included in your UK application? Yeah. Eric, would you like to go first?
Okay, so I think what I included in my application, as in like my personal statement, I guess, is quite basic. Like it's like pretty much like the usual stuff that you would see in like a medicine personal statement, you know, the usual things that you have to do. Because I think for medicine, it's because it's such a vocational course, and they kind of like expect you to have like certain components, so you don't really have like too much flexibility in terms of like what kinds of things you want to do. So yeah, I made sure that I like when I made sure I had like all the parts that they were looking for, like shadowing, a bit of research, some volunteering, things like that, and then the rest is like, you know, the usual stuff that you put in your personal statement, like books that you read, a few ECAs and things like that. Yeah, so for me, it wasn't anything like too different. What about you?
Yeah. What about Hui Xin?
So in my personal statement, I think I included some of the researches that I've done and projects. It's more about web development, machine learning algorithms, and also one of it to talk about my interest is mostly related to my experience in medical stuff like that.
Yeah, so from what I see, like the activities that you all have written in your personal statement are mostly related to your own field of study, right? So like even about the research, volunteering, clubs, or like internship stuff is all related to what you want to study. So did you all write about anything that's not related to your course at all?
For me, all parts of my personal statement is related to computer science. Yeah.
I see, I see. All right. So I'm just wondering how's the process to apply to the UK? Like, because I think the most common one is UPU that we know since young, but how is it like in the UK? Like, do they have some sort of UPU system on their own as well? So, Eric, can you share first?
Yeah, sure. So I think all UK universities, maybe like except like a few, one or two of them, most of them use like the system called UCAS, UCAS. So that's kind of like the equivalent of like UPU in the UK. And yeah, it's the portal where you will do like the entire application process on. As for like what you need, it's quite straightforward also. So like UCAS will like walk you through like the whole process. So you have to fill in your details, write a personal statement that's like based on your course that you're applying to, and then you also need like a recommendation slash reference letter from either like a teacher, a tutor, or a counselor, something like that. And then you will choose up to 5 universities that you want to apply to. So the maximum you can choose is 5. And besides that, some courses or some universities will require like additional parts of the application. So like some courses like medicine and law, they'll require like admissions tests, and universities like Oxbridge or sometimes Imperial, they also require admissions tests for other courses. And some universities also have interviews as part of the selection process. So again, interviews are like variable depending on like which course and which uni you're applying to. Yeah, that's basically it, I think.
Yeah, and I believe like the application deadline is end of January if you are planning to enter the university in September or October the same year. But for Oxford and Cambridge, the application deadline will be earlier, right? So it might be somewhere around August the year before. So when did you all start your application?
For me, I think it depends on what you mean by like starting the application. Like I started writing the personal statement, which I think for a lot of people is like the first step where you feel like, oh, okay, I'm actually starting the process. I did that in like June or July, I think, like towards the end of like the semester break after AS. Yeah, but in terms of like planning out like what to do throughout the application process, I started that about like a year before the application deadline. So like August, September, the previous year. Yeah.
What about Hui Xin?
Okay. I actually started writing my personal statement after the AS level exams. So during December, I wrote my personal statement. But actually, in terms of starting the application, I think I start the application by doing the MAT papers right before my AS exams, because I knew that if I want to apply to Oxford, then I have to do MAT, which is a very, very hard paper. Then I have to start very early.
Yeah, that's very, very early, like right before your AS. So, can you all share more about your process in writing your personal statement and like maybe share some tips as well?
In my case, I only know how to write like personal statements for my course, which is medicine. And I think it's actually might be like a bit controversial, but I think it's actually easier compared to some other courses, because like if you read a lot of like medicine personal statements, they tend to like follow the same style, because you have like a lot of things that you need to show, and you can't really like cut away, like remove any components of it. So for example, you're gonna need to have some volunteering, so that's gonna like maybe take up like half a paragraph or a whole paragraph, and you need to mention like shadowing, work experience, and what you learned from it, your reflections. That's also gonna take up like probably another like 20 to 30% of your entire personal statement. So like after like all of these essential components, the amount of like space you have left to write about like anything else that you want is actually quite low. But I think that it's also important that when you are like writing about all these quote unquote like generic things, like what you learn from like shadowing, for example, you do have to like insert some level of individuality into your writing. So yeah, you can't just like copy and paste what you saw. So think about what you actually learned from it. Because yeah, at the end of the day, like if it's literally like a carbon copy of what someone else's personal statement is, it's not gonna. Tip that I think could have been useful is not to mention too many things, because if you end up like having to attend an interview, you will have to like revise every single thing that we mentioned, like every academic thing, every like piece of research that we've included, even if it's like one sentence. You will want to prepare for it to make sure that like in case they ask you this, you have to know how to answer like any questions regarding it. So you have to like be prepared that whatever you mention in your personal statement, you will have to like do research to like the viewers, that you just put it in for the sake of putting it in, that you actually know what you're talking about. So yeah, don't try to stuff too many things in, because you might regret it later on. And yeah, I think those are the main tips that I have.
Okay. I think I'll share the tips for writing the personal statement. I think for me, the most important lesson is to get someone experienced to check your personal statement, especially in computer science, because like when you are writing your personal statement, you might include the knowledge that you have learned previously, like maybe algorithms or databases, those concepts. But after you have included in your personal statement, and you give it to your senior to read, it might be too surface, because com science concepts are too broad that maybe what you have included is not really important, especially in com science area. So get someone experienced to read your personal statement and ask for advice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So I guess like when you are starting out also, just don't be afraid to start writing the first sentence, because that's usually what holds people back sometimes. So yeah, just try writing a first paragraph first, and then you'll realize that you will keep on rewriting and refining your ideas, your entire essay. So yeah, just start and don't be afraid. So did y'all face any challenges or difficulties throughout the entire application process?
Because most of my application is divided into two parts. One is personal statement, and another one is the admission test. I'm doing MAT for Oxford Computer Science. So the first challenge I face is my English writing skill, because I think for those, if you think you are a good writer, but it doesn't mean that you are really a good writer for personal statement. So when I was writing the personal statement, sometimes I don't know how to put my ideas in sentences. So maybe my sentences might be too general or too simple. So I have to keep asking for help to refine my essays. And then another challenge I face is the MAT papers. It's too hard. It's very, very hard. So, okay, because for those applicants studying going to apply computer science in Oxford, we are going to do the most challenging questions in MAT paper compared to applicants going to apply math courses or other courses. So the questions are mostly about logical thinking problems. So sometimes it takes time to understand the problem and actually solve that problem.
Yeah, I relate with Hui Xin a lot, because I also struggled with the writing part. Like I read a lot of samples with some really bombastic words, and I just wonder like whether or not I myself can produce something like that. But then throughout the process, I just realized that sometimes you don't like, the most important part is not using perfect English, but just conveying your ideas and let the admissions officer understand like your passion towards that subject. Yeah. So what about Eric? Do you face any challenges?
I think for me, the biggest challenge was probably like time management, and also having to like juggle like all of the university application stuff, because I also applied to the US, like in addition to like the UK. And like during the like October, November, December season, like it gets very, very bad because you have like all the essay deadlines like piling up on top of like the admissions test and also the interviews. Yeah, so I think that was probably the most like difficult part, just having to like divide your brain power to like focus on all of the different things that are piling on at the same time. And you can't really like, do one and then the other because all of the deadlines are so close to each other as well. Yeah.
All right. Also, just curious, like what are the results that students have to submit to the UCAS application when they are applying? Like, do they have to submit all semester exam results, or is just like A level? And did you all use your predicted grades? Yeah. Hui Xin, would you like to share?
Okay, I think not I think it's the truth that every candidate don't have to submit the semester report. We just have to submit our S real result and our predicted grades and SPM result. And if you have IELTS, then you can also submit it.
All right. Yeah, that's really helpful because I guess like a lot of people are unsure about like the UK application, like what if I haven't taken my E2 yet, right? Okay, so did you all like have some fun or interesting experiences throughout this whole application process?
I don't know if this is considered fun and interesting, but it was very stressful at the time. But basically, during one of my interviews for Oxford, I disconnected halfway because my internet connection was very unstable. Kind of like right now. Yeah, this was about like the level of connection that I had also. Yeah, so it was like, like a gradual process. Like at first they were like, "Oh, can you repeat that? I don't think we heard that." And I was like, "Uh-oh, this is not very good." And then after that, like I just got like kicked out of the call completely. Yeah, and then I had to like go to like a different room in my house to find a better connection. Yeah, it was very stressful. But I think they were quite understanding about it. I don't think they penalized me. But yeah, it was just like not it's not a good impression also lah. So, if you're having an interview, try to make sure that your internet connection is stable. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're having any interviews, make sure you are having a stable internet connection. What about Hui Xin?
I have a similar experience as Eric. I also got disconnected during my Imperial interview. Yeah. Okay, I was very nervous at that time because I don't know whether I can re-enter the interview session or not. So like after I got disconnected, I quickly use back my hotspot to enter that interview session. And I was quite surprised that the interviewer was a bit like, she didn't ask me why you got disconnected, and then we just continued the interview session like that.
Yeah. So I guess sometimes we can just be chill about it and just pretend nothing happened. Yeah. Okay. So since we are talking about interviews, can you all share a bit more about your interview experience?
Yeah, for me, I had to do 4 interviews in total for my UK applications, which were like the 4 medical schools that I applied to. And all of them were actually quite different. So if you're applying for medicine, don't like assume that all of the interviews will be the same, because like they usually will have different formats, and you can find like what format they use like from their website. But sometimes they will like change the format from year to year also. But I think for the most part, like the type of like skills and like responses that you need to prepare for are largely the same. So yeah, you don't have to like worry about like a different format too much. As for my interview experience, I think the most like stressful one was probably Oxford's interview, which they did it as like 4 separate sessions over the course of 2 days, so like 2 sessions per day, and each session was about like half an hour in length. Yeah, and I don't think I can actually reveal like what the questions were. I think like they had to like make us sign something like that. But yeah, but I would say that it was quite interesting, like the questions they asked, because like it's not really like it's a very like diverse like range of like question types or so. They don't just like ask in one way or the other. Like they can basically like pull out like any kind of like critical thinking question that they want to ask. Yeah, and I think like one interesting thing that I tried to do was I don't know if this is a good thing, I don't know if it was helpful in my application, but you know how like when you're preparing for like Oxbridge interviews, people usually like tell you that you should like show your thought process and like think aloud and like things like that, right? Yeah, so I maybe I took it like a bit too much to the extreme, because in one part of the application process, like in one part of the interview, they asked like a question, but for this like question you had like preparation time, so they gave me like I think like 20 minutes before the session. They sent me like a PDF which had like a lot of like information and like the question at the bottom and things like that, and they said like, okay, you have 20 minutes to prepare like this task, and then we're gonna ask you about it later on. Yeah, so during that 20 minutes, I mean 20 minutes is quite a long time, so I had a lot of time to like think about like different ways to approach the question, right? So when they asked me like after the 20 minutes and I entered the interview, they asked me like, okay, so how would you like answer this question? The first answer I gave was like what I knew was the wrong answer, but like because I know they want to like see how you can like improve your thoughts and all. So yeah, I gave that first, and then the immediate next question that they asked was, okay, do you see any problems with this answer? And like, do you have any ways to fix it? And I was like, yeah, I actually
Oh,
do see problems. And yeah, it was, I don't know if that was, yeah, I don't know if that was the right move, but yeah, like that, I think you can try to do something like that also. Where I think it's also helpful for them to see, like, you can reflect on like what you're doing wrong. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe that's a good strategy. So act like you don't know the correct answer first, and then like maybe they have lower expectations, and then yeah, you can improve a lot like in your next answer, right? Okay, so what
oh,
about Hui Xin? Did you have any interviews?
yeah, I got an interview from Imperial. So I think that interview experience is quite different from Oxford, because we were not asked to talk about our thought process. Instead, my interviewer asked me to, force me to get to the final answers. My interview was about 30 minutes long, so it was divided into two parts. The first part is asking me about my personal statement questions. Then the second part is to solve the problems. So for the problems part, I was given three questions. The first is maths question, and the others were logical thinking questions. So I thought Imperial interview was like Oxford. We need to talk about our thought process first, even though the answer is not that important. But it was not the same like in the Imperial interview. I was forced by my interviewer to get to the final answer. In the solving process, I tried to talk about my thought process and my ways to solve it. And I hope for the hints from my interviewer, but she didn't give me any hint to do the questions. So I have no choice. I can just continue my working and do until I get the final answer. Then she said, okay, then we continue to the next question. Oh my God.
Yeah, so I guess like different schools have different styles as well. Some just really want to know how you think, but some just want to see like how fast you can get to the final answer, right? So do research well, like what is your school
Yeah, yeah.
looking for? Mm-mm. Okay, so if you could turn back time, right, what would you do differently in your whole application process? Hui Xin, would you like to go first?
Okay. I think if I could turn back the time, I will choose to apply to Cambridge instead. I want to apply to Oxford anymore. Okay, during that time, I want to challenge myself to do very hard NAT paper to apply to Oxford College. But now I realize I'm too naive. I don't think I can survive the application process, but hopefully I did survive it. But if I could turn back the time, I wish to apply to Cambridge, because for Cambridge application process, I just have to do TNUA papers, which are mostly maths related instead of NAT, which is about logical thinking questions. So yeah, do do your research well. So like make sure you are capable to do the MAT papers before you decide that you want to apply to Oxford Computer Science.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
How
Yeah,
about you?
For me, I think I could have like been a bit more calm about like the whole application process and not stressed out too much. Yeah, because I did prepare well, so I should have like, had faith in myself that okay, like what I'm doing, like it's enough. Like I don't have to like worry about like every little like minute detail and like yeah, because at the end of the day, I don't think like any like small mishaps here and there is gonna like derail your application. So yeah, I don't think I should have worried too much about like small things and just like stayed calm and not panic too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the advice for everyone out there is just to do the research well, because for Oxford and Cambridge, you can, like for undergrad students, you can only choose one of these two to apply. So definitely research well. Don't stress out too much, because I understand like there will be a lot of uncertainties. You never know like which date they are gonna release their admissions results, but just stay calm and believe in yourself once you have already prepared everything well. Okay, so is there anything that you have learned and like you would like to share that advice to those who are watching this as well?
I think for me, one thing that I learned was that like sometimes if you want like certain opportunities, you really have to like take initiative and try to get it like on your own without like expecting like, oh, maybe like your school is gonna like ask, oh, is anyone interested in doing this? Like sometimes that doesn't happen and you really have to like just figure out how you want to like increase your chances and just like go for it. And for me, like one main thing that I learned was like how to cold email or like cold call people, like including like universities or hospitals and things like that. Because like in Malaysia, there isn't really a culture of like, shadowing or like doing like a work attachment with like doctors and stuff. But like if you want like that kind of experience, if you think it's gonna be helpful for you to like get to know the course and it's gonna like help your reflections in your personal statement, you really have to like just put yourself out there and like ask if anyone is like willing to give you that chance, to do either research or shadowing and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important for you to like create opportunities for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Hui Xin?
I think one thing that I learned during my application process is to go for everything you wish to get. So like after I found out the TSB, which is a article research opportunity, so I just go for it, even though I don't have any skill in doing any research or doing writing any articles for showing to the public like that. So I'm glad that I have taken that opportunity because I can use this as my publication in my LinkedIn.
Yeah, and also you can use that to explore your interest in your future degree course. And of course, you can include that in your personal statement, talk about your experience, right? So, do you all have any ideas what you want to pursue in the future after you have studied in the UK? And also, do you have any final words to the audience?
Okay, I prefer not to say my future plans because I don't really have a clear goal on what should I do in the future yet. So to give any advice to future candidates, just I would say good luck because CS is a really broad field that if you find an interest in any of the field, then your future is more secure. The future of technology is definitely yours.
For me, I don't have any like concrete plans like after graduating as well, because like I believe I've only scratched the surface of what medicine has to offer, because like I'm sure that like I'm gonna learn like much more about medicine once I actually enter university, and my plans will definitely like shift in accordance to that. Yeah, as for like advice for others, I think the most important like takeaway that you can have is to do your own research. Like, yeah, whatever decisions you are making or like whatever questions you have, there's probably like information out there already on the internet. So don't be afraid to just like ask people for help. And yeah, just don't worry too much about like having to like navigate through the process on your own, because there will be people out there who have gone through the same thing and can help you out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the great advice from both Hui Xin and Eric. So all the best to you both in UK. I'm sure you all will pick up the British accent soon and also enjoy like the academic life and also just life in general there. Yeah. So all the best and hope you all enjoy your life in UK. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting us.
Bye.